Panic and terror inside Columbiana Center.
Panic, everybody started running through the malls.
A day of shopping abruptly halted as shots are fired.
What we know is at least 3 people were seen with firearms inside the mall.
Now the search for answers as a dozen people injured are recovering. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us for News 19 at 11. I'm Darcy Strickland. We are continuing with our breaking news coverage of a shooting at Columbiana Center earlier this afternoon that left 10 people shot and 2 trampled in their rush to safety. Now these videos that we're showing you now were taken by people who were inside the mall during the shooting as they were being taken out of the mall to safety by law enforcement. A few hours after the shooting, Columbia Police Chief Skip Holbrook gave an update on what the department knew so far. Here's what he had to say.
No, currently, and again, I say this is very preliminary. We had 12 injured, no fatalities. I repeat, no fatalities. 10 suffered gunshot wounds, 8 were transported, 2 self-reported to area hospitals. Of the 8 gunshot wounds, 2 are in critical but stable, 6 are stable. We had 2 that were injured during the stampede, non-gunshot wounds, but were injured. And again, we transported folks to 3 area hospitals, Park Ridge, Richland, and Lexington. We have 3 people detained. What we know is at least 3 people were seen with firearms inside the mall, and at least 1 person fired a weapon. That could change. We're asking anybody with information that may have witnessed, may have video, or has heard something to contact our Criminal Investigations Bureau. That number is 803-545-3525, 803-545-3525. There will be investigators standing by to receive those calls.
Here's what we know at this hour. 11 patients were taken to Prisma Health with various injuries, including gunshot wounds. 9 of those patients have been treated and released. The emergency departments are on lockdown, and according to the hospital system, it is a normal part of emergency procedures. We have team coverage tonight. We start with News 19's Kaylin Hagwood, who was one of our first crews to arrive on the scene. Kaylin.
The scene is clear here at Columbiana Center Mall Saturday night after 10 people were shot earlier in the day. Police worked throughout the evening to evacuate the building and locate employees who were asked to shelter in place. This as witnesses say they're working to find the right way to overcome it. A day of fun before Easter turned to one of terror for shoppers when gunshots rang out at Columbiana Mall.
We didn't expect to go into the mall and then have to literally run for our lives to leave out of there. It was just not what we were expecting on a typical Saturday.
Jewel Burgess was there with her 3-year-old.
He gets in the car and he goes, "Was somebody shooting a gun?" He's scared and he doesn't understand, but that's all he's been hearing because people are just yelling that as we're running.
Police say multiple shots were fired with 10 people struck. At least 2 others were injured in the stampede as shoppers rushed to safety.
All you see was running and crying and screaming.
As the investigation continues, the path forward for some shoppers is also unclear.
I just feel like online shopping is my thing. I don't even want to venture out to the mall anymore because I just feel like it's just not safe. And it's, we're going to try to continue and enjoy the holiday weekend, try to get some rest, but more so just kind of being thankful that we were not injured as badly as some of the others that possibly were in the mall.
Well, if you saw anything you think can help, Columbia Police have set up a hotline. That number is 803-545-3525. Kaylin Hagwood, News 19, WLTX.
Here's a look outside Columbiana Center. This was several hours ago, and as you can see for yourself, there is hardly a car to be seen in the parking lot, and the police presence has even died down from earlier today. But in the moments following the shooting, the stretch of I-26 closest to the mall was packed with cars trying to get away from the danger. Looking even closer at the mall. Hundreds of people were found running out of the building during the shooting. Multiple people inside the mall told News 19 that the moments following the shooting were chaotic and panicked. So here's a closer look at the layout inside of Columbiana Mall. The shooting happened near the Gap store. That's where we're told the 911 call initially came in about the shooter. And as you can see, this is the Gap store, and this is the food court where hundreds of people were trying to make their exit. Happened at Columbiana Mall was back in January when a woman, according to police, accidentally shot herself while trying to handle a gun that was in her purse. Police ended up taking the gun and the woman was taken to the hospital. Her injuries weren't thought at that time to be life-threatening. Before that, 2 shootings happened in the mall back in 2016. Nobody was injured in either of those shootings. Hundreds of people started running toward the exit, that one exit in the mall's food court when they heard the gunfire. 2 of those people trying to escape were Skalaskatine and Bayron Billups. I talked to them this evening about how they made it out safely.
My wife looked at me and said, "Baby, they're running this way." And I grabbed her by the arm and we stood up to run, and as soon as we did, we just got overwhelmed. People were running also behind us, in front of us, and falling over all over the ground, and we fell. There was no way of telling if this was a good idea to even be trying to run out of the store right now. I can't tell you how many times we fell and had to crawl, how many times we got up and had to go back down on the ground just to make it out of there. I lost count. I can't even tell you. The noise was deafening. I mean, the screams and yells it was so deafening. You couldn't hear or distinguish what people were saying, or you didn't have time to ask anybody what's going on. All you knew basically that someone had a gun. Someone was shooting.
Something was going on.
And you just needed to get out of there.
Several mothers were running up to the door, calling the names of their children. And it's like, I can't find so-and-so. Where is so-and-so? And you could tell that they were really devastated, and it was just crazy.
The officers pulling up, and they were pulling out assault rifles. And that's when everything just became so real. It's like, I don't believe we are in the middle of this. We just experienced something that we usually watch on the news in other states and other countries. It makes you angry that people carry guns and shoot guns so carelessly and harm's way of innocent people so carelessly and recklessly. And then we pray for the people who have been injured by this situation. We pray for them and their families tonight.
Roads were blocked off for several hours while law enforcement secured the mall and got people out safely. News 19's Walker Lawson continues our team coverage. He talked with someone who was inside when the shooting happened. Walker.
Saturday afternoon as they rushed for safety. Dwayne Loveday works at Auntie Anne's.
Panic, everybody started running through the mall and stuff. We were still on the floor trying to get our employees to the back of the store. Folks on the ground, people attending to them, glass shattered. We saw rounds of ammunition.
A scary situation for the hundreds of people who were scrambling for safety. Earl Wooten says he showed up right before the shooting to pick up his daughter.
A pretty scary event. It was about 10 shots or so that rang out. Before they were done, I was grabbed her and we were running out the door. When I tell you, people were coming out of every single exit as fast as possible.
Other shopper Christy Clark tells News 19 she was inside Belk and couldn't believe what was happening.
When you see people start running, you instantly think of all the things going on. I certainly never thought I'd be somewhere where there would be a mass shooting, but the first thought was, this can't be real. Terror. I mean, it was sheer terror in people's faces as they were running through the mall. I mean, it was, you think about those mass shootings in schools and in different places, and you're like, wow, this cannot be happening right here in Irmo.
At last check, the mall will be closed until further notice. At Columbiana Center, I'm Walker Lawson, News 19 WLTX.
Walker, thank you. There have been 93 shootings in the city of Columbia in the past 12 months. That's according to Columbia Mayor Daniel Rickerman. I spoke with the capital city mayor this evening. Here's what he had to say about law enforcement's response to the shooting.
The blessing in it is that our police departments in those joining agencies had been through a drill several years ago, so they had a good plan and set up and really were able to get on the scene and get everybody involved and really try to organize it and calm down the chaos and get folks to safety. The fire department had a big role in it as well, where they had a place where everybody could regroup and they were connecting families together. So, from that standpoint, I think things went well. But, we have to go back and look. Anytime there's something like this that happens, we're going to look at it afterwards and figure out, well, what can we do to ensure it doesn't happen again?
U.S. Senator Tim Scott tweeted out this statement responding to today's shooting, saying, quote, "My heart goes out to those injured at Columbiana Center Mall today. Thank you to all the law enforcement officers involved in the rapid response to prevent further injury." Our team coverage is going to continue now with News 19's Peyton Lewis. She has been on the scene at the mall for several hours and has more from two families who had close calls with the shooting.
Here at the Columbiana Center, it's a calm evening in comparison to what people saw earlier this afternoon. With the exception of a few stores that are still open, it's a lot less chaos than what Daniel Johnson described it after shots were fired.
There's a ride in there that's right in the middle of the food court, which kind of just has the 4 people to sit. So I thought it was that. So when I looked to my right to see that, I noticed that wasn't it, and from my peripheral, I could see everybody kind of rushing.
Johnson says he was in town celebrating his son's birthday, along with other members of his family. He says they were enjoying a meal in the food court when the chaos started.
Kind of heard the shots, and when I looked and just kind of saw everybody, just a mob of people running towards the doors, and people were getting kind of stepped on and trampled, and once I got a hold of my family, I kind of got them out of there and we just left.
After the crowds of people were evacuated from the mall, police gave a space at a nearby Fairfield Inn hotel where families could reunite. As people found their loved ones, the traffic and police presence slowly went away. We spoke with Prabhakar Sharma, who says his family was supposed to be at the mall for an appointment around the time the shooting happened. He says being late may have saved his family's lives.
Sometimes you think fortunate being late. So that's the day, I could say.
And although some stores are still open, the majority of the mall is closed as investigators search for more evidence after the shooting today and storefronts are cleaned up. Reporting in Columbia, Peyton Lewis, News 19 WLTX.
Peyton, thank you so much. Some history about Columbiana Mall. It was built in 1990 and is one of South Carolina's largest shopping malls, spanning 817,000 square feet. The mall first opened its doors with Belk and Sears, and since then it's expanded to 112 businesses. The mall also lies between 2 counties, Richland and Lexington. According to the mall's website, they will be closed until further notice. We saw them update their webpage this evening. We are going to continue to follow this story for you, not only on air, but also online at WLTX.com.